And I thought, could I have said anything meaner? Especially from a crafter to someone else? Hi, my name is Mark and welcome to the channel. Today I'm sitting down to wind some yarn and share a story with you. This specific story is sort of a dark point for me where I chose to use some really ugly words towards a friend of mine. And the words are crafting related. And so I'm coming to you to share this sort of a very public apology. And I'd love to know from you, what are the most hurtful things you've said to a crafter in your life? Stick around and let's get into it. Before we discuss the plans for my next project, I'm happy to say that this video is sponsored by Craftsy. If you know me, you know that I'm always starting something new or trying to learn something new, and Craftsy is my online resource for all things creative. If you're not familiar, Craftsy offers video classes in a huge range of categories, everything from knitting and crochet to baking, cooking, drawing, painting, and photography. Just glancing at the knitting category, there are interesting things like shearing sheep, planning the perfect pullover, hat knitting 101, knitting a cabled hat. I mean, all sorts of techniques, things that I've sometimes learned through in-person classes, but a plethora of things that I can also access through this huge online database. One of my favorite creators in the fiber arts world is Laura Nelkin, and I was excited to be able to take her class on Knit Shawl's 14 Ways, where she explores all different shapes and sort of anatomy of creating knit shawls. One of my favorite designers, especially for cables, is Nora Gahn, and she has a video on reversible cables, which is another great resource, something that I've taken advantage of for scarves, cowls, things that might flip one way or the other, where I still want the pattern to show. In the future, I'm excited to explore more of the sewing elements of Craftsy. That's something that I'm much less familiar with, so I'm glad to have the resource, and maybe even checking out some of their photography resources. The first 1,000 people to click the link in my description box will receive a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This is valid for new members only, so if you're someone who hasn't used Craftsy before but you're interested in exploring it, you can follow my link in the description box or pinned to the top of the comments below this video to start today. Now to talk about my next project. I've got some yarn in front of me that I'm going to be winding for the Lulu slipover from Petite Knit. I'm a fan of vests, I'm a fan of slipovers, and this one is interesting. We'll look at it here together from Ravelry. It has completely open sides that are then buttoned together, and I like the look of this. I saw someone recently say that a lot of the Petite Knit patterns look like something you could buy in the store, which they do. They're very fashionable, they feel very modern, while still being something handmade and honoring a craft, a timeless craft. So this is the yarn I'm planning to use for the slipover. It's from Blue Sky Fibers, it's wool stock and the worsted weight, and this is color Midnight Sea, which is very dark. It's almost like a black or a charcoal, but hopefully you can see on the camera it is truly like a midnight navy, still with a good bit of dimension in it. And I love this color. I bought some of it a long time ago and then never used it for a project. I think probably ended up being passed on to a friend so that they could use it for something. I just think it's beautiful. And as this is a slipover that will show quite a bit of whatever I'm wearing under it, I thought this is nice. This is a dark neutral, something that I could wear with basically any other color. So it's my choice for the Lulu slipover. Wool stock is a 100% non-superwash Highland wool, and it comes from Peru. I like using wool stock for a couple of reasons. I really like their range of colors. I think they have several good neutrals, and then the colors are all kind of grounded, almost earthy, and they work well together, so it's a great choice for color work. I also think it's really, really soft. I think it's a really plush, bouncy, soft wool, especially for a non-superwash wool. And then because it's non-superwash, it stands up really well for color work. I love the way it blocks out. I like working with it. I like all parts of the process when I use wool stock. Now for the winding. If you're unsure of why I need to wind the yarn, I've made a video about this, so you can pop over and watch that if you're interested. Otherwise, let's get to it. All right, now for my story. As I mentioned, I'm ashamed of what I said, and it is a very crafting related insult that I hurled at one of my very good friends. So I'll start by saying I try to be a very nice person. I try to be gentle and honest and kind, treat people the way that I would want them to treat me in return. So, anyway, I think this was just a result of being human, and sometimes it's challenging being human. Sometimes things just happen. You do something or you say something, and you didn't even consider whether or not you really wanted that to come out into the open. And this was one of those situations. So let me set the scene. I was in rehearsals in Tucson, Arizona for a Frankenstein program. We were doing a new work for choir and ballet, and there were dancers depicting some of the characters from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and then the choir sang sort of the voice, both the narration and the voice of the monster, which was interesting. So we were in rehearsals. It's a long week, late nights, all of that. And in the other portion of the program, we were singing Brahms, the Neue Liebeslieder Walze, the new love song waltzes. And my friend, I'm not going to name them because you don't need to know. I don't want to make it worse than it already is. My friend was singing one of the solos, and they are a beautiful singer. I mean, just a fantastic voice. They carry themselves so beautifully, wonderful to watch, wonderful to hear. And as I'm watching them sing, I'm behind in the choir. So I'm watching from behind, and they're wearing a lovely sweater. I think store-bought sweater, but it's beautiful, beautiful stitching, beautiful wool. And I'm just noticing how pilly it is. And we talk about pilling sometimes on the channel. Everything pills. I mean, plastic, acrylic pills, wool pills. It depends on, I think, the staple, the length of staple in the fiber. It depends on how much agitation your garment receives. And it's not always a sign of something being high quality or low quality. Things pill, things rub and pill. So I make most all of my sweaters out of natural fiber, whether it's superwash wool, non-superwash wool, cotton, linen, all sorts of things, and all of them pill. It doesn't matter how nice or how expensive the yarn was, eventually it will pill. So a big part of having sweaters and making sweaters is the sweater maintenance. And I have a sweater maintenance video coming at some point on the channel once I get all the parts together, gathered, and edited. And part of that is to shave your sweaters down. So as my sweaters pill, they often pill most in the beginning of their lives, in the first season or two of wearing. After that, most of the shorter staples of fiber that sort of rise to the top, they've made their way to the top. So if they're going to pill, they've pilled. So the longer you have something, the longer you wear it, the less pilling you'll encounter. And I go in the beginning of the life of a garment, and I shave my sweaters down with an electric sweater shaver. And I think I have a clip that I'll put in here. So going in with this electric shaver really helps collect all of those pills, collect all of the fiber that's making its way off the sweater, and keeps it looking brand new. So, because I knit, because I knit all the time, because I wear a lot of my own things, I'm hyper fixated on other people's pilly sweaters. And this is where it's getting to the insult. So when I see sweaters out in public, when I see something someone's wearing, I consider it. I look to see, is it handmade? Is it machine made? What's the stitch pattern? What do I think it's made from? Where in the world did it come from? What's it influenced by? I'm just curious. And when something is really, really pilly, I notice it, and it's fine. Sometimes I wear things that are really, really pilly because I need to take them home and de-pill them or shave them. So let me get to my second skein of yarn. So we finish the evening, we finish our rehearsal, and we're just milling around, chatting with each other, waiting to go home in our various carpools. And my friend comes up to me to give me a hug, and without any consideration, the phrase that comes out of my mouth is, "Hey, pill queen." And immediately I try to justify it. And I say, "Oh my goodness, not like you're a pill queen like prescription pills, but then what's the other result here?" So then I'm frantically thinking, I have to say, "A pill queen like your sweater is really pilly." And I thought, could I have said anything meaner? Especially from a crafter to someone else? Oh, I felt so bad. And they took it really well, very graciously. I immediately tried to backpedal, tried to, stick my foot further in my mouth. And then I ended up apologizing again the next day. And the worst part of it was that because they craft, they knew exactly what I was saying, and they knew that it was hurtful. So, anyway, I'd love to know, do you have crafting insults? Are there things that you've said to another crafter, a friend or foe, in a moment of weakness to hurt them? And I had no reason to hurt this friend. I don't know why in the world it came out of my mouth. More of just an observation. I had noticed how pilly the sweater was, and so it's the first thing that came out. "Hey, pill queen." And I thought, oh my gosh, um, I'm so stupid. So I can say gladly that I'm on good terms with my friend. I'm not calling them out here because you don't need to know how pilly their sweater was. Um, Anyway, so please, I would love to hear if there are things um, that you can be kind of snarky or judgy about, whether or not you say them to anyone. I mean, all of us are judgmental somewhere deep down or not deep down about something. Again, it's our human nature. So I'd love to hear from you. It would make me feel a little bit better. And I think if we're telling it in a nice sort of anonymous way, we're not pointing out who we said it about, and maybe we can entertain each other slightly by the things that we've said or the things that we've thought in the crafting world. And obviously, I don't want this to be a negative thing. This isn't a place to say these people are the worst, or people that do this or choose this or like this are the worst. It's just the observations you make. So for me, it was the pilliness of this sweater um, that just had to come tumbling out of my mouth. So I'd love to hear from you. As always, I'd love to hear what you're working on, what you're making, how your crafting is going, and obviously I'll do the same here on the channel, keeping you updated with things. I hope that this admission, this apology, isn't something that will change too much of who you interpret me to be, but I wanted to share. I thought that was ridiculous, but also, apt and ridiculous at the same time. And thankfully, I said it to someone who understood that it just blurted out and we're fine. But I'd love to hear your stories. If there's a moment you've put your foot in your mouth, I'd love for you to share. So, as always, thank you for choosing to be here with me. I appreciate any time you spend on the channel. I really enjoy getting to know you. And here's a moment where you're getting to know me and all my faults. So please get in touch via Ravelry, via Instagram, or in the comments here. I'm always glad to hear what you have to say. As always, happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy crafting to you, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.